Imagine sitting in a crowded cafe, and while everyone else seems perfectly at ease, you're noticing every subtle shift in emotion around you. The barista's hidden frustration beneath their cheerful smile, the quiet anxiety of the student in the corner, the unspoken tension between the couple 3 tables over. While others sip their coffee, lost in their own worlds, you're unconsciously absorbing the invisible currents of emotion flowing through the room. You write down the contents. If this sounds familiar, you might be an INFJ, the rarest personality type in the Myers-Briggs system. And you might have wondered, as many INFJ do, whether this intense way of experiencing the world means there's something fundamentally different about how your brain works. Today, we're diving deep into a question that's been circulating in personality-type communities and forums. Are all INFJs naturally neurodivergent? This isn't just a simple yes or no question. It's an exploration of human neurodiversity, personality psychology, and the complex ways our brains make us who we are. Whether you're an INFJ yourself, know someone who is, or are simply curious about the intersection of personality types and neurodivergence, this discussion will shed light on some fascinating aspects of human psychology that often go unexplored. Understanding neurodivergence. A deep dive. Before we can explore whether INFJs are inherently neurodivergent, we need to understand what neurodivergence really means in today's context. The term neurodivergent has evolved significantly since its introduction in the late 1990s. Originally coined by sociologist Judy Singer, it was part of the Neurodiversity movement, which advocates for the recognition and acceptance of neurological differences as natural variations in human cognition, rather than deficits that need to be fixed. Think of the human brain as an incredibly complex computer system. Just as computers can run different operating systems, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, human brains can process information in fundamentally different ways. Neurodivergence encompasses this natural variation in human brain function and information processing. This includes conditions like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, and others. However, it's crucial to understand that neurodivergence isn't about being broken or wrong, attribulating. It's simply a different way of experiencing and interacting with the world. The neurodiversity paradigm suggests that these different ways of thinking and processing information have evolved for good reasons and may offer unique advantages in certain contexts. For instance, someone with ADHD might struggle with traditional office work but excel in crisis situations where quick thinking and parallel processing are advantages. An autistic individual might find social small talk challenging, but possess an extraordinary ability to notice patterns and details that others miss. The INFJ personality, understanding the world's rarest type. The INFJ personality type, making up less than 2% of the population, is often described as the most complex and paradoxical of the 16 Myers-Briggs types. To truly understand whether INFJ might be considered neurodivergent, we need to first understand what makes this personality type so unique. INFJ are led by introverted intuition, NI, a cognitive function that operates largely in the unconscious mind, gathering information and forming patterns and insights that often seem to appear out of nowhere. This can make INFJ seem almost psychic in their ability to understand situations and people. They often report knowing things without knowing how they know them, a phenomenon that can feel very different from how most people process information. Following their introverted intuition, INFJ use extroverted feeling, INFJ, as their auxiliary function. This combination creates a unique dynamic where INFJ are simultaneously deeply internal and highly attuned to others' emotions. They often describe feeling like emotional sponges, absorbing the feelings of those around them whether they want to or not. This can be both a gift and a burden, allowing them to understand and help others, while potentially leaving them overwhelmed by emotional input. Their third function, introverted thinking, TI, gives them a need to analyze and make logical sense of their insights and emotional experiences. This can create an internal tension between their intuitive understanding and their desire for logical explanation. Finally, their inferior function, extroverted sensing, SE, can make them somewhat disconnected from the physical world and easily overwhelmed by sensory input. The complex intersection of INFJ traits and neurodivergent characteristics. When we look closely at INFJ characteristics and common neurodivergent traits, we find some fascinating overlaps that might explain why many INFJs question whether they might be neurodivergent. However, it's essential to understand these similarities while recognizing that correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation. One of the most striking overlaps appears in sensory processing. Many INFJ report being highly sensitive to their environment. Bright lights might feel painful, certain textures might be unbearable, and crowded spaces might quickly become overwhelming. This sensitivity bears a remarkable resemblance to the sensory processing differences often experienced by neurodivergent individuals, particularly those on the autism spectrum or with sensory processing disorder. Pattern recognition provides another interesting parallel. INFJs, driven by their dominant introverted intuition, excel at spotting subtle patterns and making unexpected connections. This ability often manifests in similar ways to the pattern recognition strengths seen in many neurodivergent individuals, particularly those with autism or certain types of ADHD. Both groups might notice details others miss and make connections that seem obvious to them but surprising to others. Social interaction styles present yet another area of overlap. INFJ frequently report feeling out of step with typical social norms and expectations. They might struggle with small talk, prefer deep one-on-one conversations to group settings, and need significant alone time to recharge. These characteristics mirror many experiences reported by neurodivergent individuals, who might also find typical social interactions challenging or draining. The scientific perspective, current research and understanding. When we turn to scientific research for answers about the relationship between INFJ personality type and neurodivergence, we find ourselves in largely uncharted territory. While there's substantial research on both personality types and neurodevelopmental conditions separately, very little scientific study has directly examined their intersection. Current research in personality psychology suggests that personality type development involves a complex interaction between genetic predisposition and environmental factors. Our basic temperament may be influenced by our genes, but our experiences, environment, and choices shape how that temperament manifests in our personality. Neurodivergence, on the other hand, is primarily understood as a neurological difference present from birth or early development. While its expression can be influenced by environment and experience, the underlying neurological differences are believed to be inherent rather than developed. This fundamental distinction is crucial for understanding why we can't simply equate INFJ traits with neurodivergence, even when they might look similar on the surface. An INFJ's sensitivity to their environment might stem from their cognitive functions working together in a particular way, while a neurodivergent person's sensory sensitivity might arise from fundamental differences in how their brain processes sensory information. Common misconceptions. Separating fact from fiction. As discussions about personality types and neurodivergence have become more mainstream, several misconceptions have taken root in online communities and popular understanding. Let's address these misconceptions with nuance and clarity. The first major misconception is the idea that if you're an INFJ, you must be on the autism spectrum. While some INFJ may indeed be autistic, and there might be some overlap in how traits present, they are distinct phenomena. An INFJ's difficulty with small talk might stem from their preference for meaningful conversation and discomfort with superficial interaction, while an autistic person's challenges with small talk might relate to differences in processing social cues and understanding implicit communication. Another common misconception is that INFJ are simply undiagnosed ADHD cases. While some INFJ might have ADHD, Their tendency to seem scattered or overwhelmed often stems from different sources. An INFJ might appear distracted because they're processing multiple layers of emotional and intuitive information, while someone with ADHD might struggle with attention due to differences in executive function and dopamine processing. The third significant misconception is that being highly sensitive automatically means being neurodivergent. High sensitivity can be a personality trait, as described in research on highly sensitive persons, HSPs, or it can be related to neurodivergence, but these are not necessarily the same thing. An INFJ's sensitivity might be more about their cognitive functions working together to create heightened awareness, while a neurodivergent person's sensitivity might relate to fundamental differences in sensory processing. The role of mental health in the INFJ experience. The relationship between INFJ personality traits, neurodivergence, and mental health deserves careful exploration. Many INFJ report experiencing anxiety, depression, or burnout at some point in their lives, but it's essential to understand that these experiences can stem from different sources and may require different approaches to support and healing. For INFJ, mental health challenges often arise from their unique way of experiencing the world. Their heightened sensitivity to others' emotions can lead to what many describe as emotional flooding, becoming overwhelmed by absorbing too much of others' emotional states. This isn't necessarily a sign of neurodivergence, but rather a natural consequence of their cognitive functions working at full capacity. The INFJ's perfectionist tendencies can also impact their mental well-being. Their introverted intuition often shows them ideal possibilities, while their extroverted feeling drives them to want to help and please others. This combination can create unrealistic expectations and a crushing sense of responsibility for others' happiness. Many INFJ report feeling like they're constantly falling short of their own standards, leading to patterns of anxiety and self-doubt. Another significant factor is the INFJ's need for meaning and purpose. Unlike some other types who might find satisfaction in more concrete achievements, INFJ often need to feel they're contributing to something larger than themselves. When they find themselves in situations that don't align with their values or feel meaningless, they may experience a deep sense of disconnection and depression that goes beyond ordinary unhappiness. Navigating professional support and diagnosis. For INFJ questioning whether they might be neurodivergent, seeking professional support can feel particularly challenging. Their intuitive nature often means they've already done extensive research and formed their own theories about their experiences. However, it's crucial to approach this journey with openness and a willingness to learn. When considering professional evaluation, it's important to find healthcare providers who understand both personality psychology and neurodevelopmental conditions. Some signs that might indicate a need for professional assessment include cluttering thinking, persistent difficulties with executive function that significantly impact daily life, beyond what might be expected from typical INFJ traits. This might look like consistent struggles with time management, organization, or completing tasks, even when these tasks align with your values and goals. Sensory sensitivities that cause significant distress or impairment. While many INFJ are sensitive, if your sensory experiences regularly prevent you from participating in necessary activities or cause extreme distress, this might warrant professional evaluation. If you do suffer painful sensory sensitivities, this might warrant professional evaluation. Social communication challenges that go beyond the typical INFJ preference for depth over breadth in relationships. If you consistently struggle to understand social cues or maintain relationships despite your best efforts and desire to connect, this might be worth exploring with a professional. Creating a supportive environment. Practical strategies. Whether you're an INFJ, neurodivergent, or both, creating an environment that supports your unique way of processing information and experiencing the world is crucial. This involves both physical and social considerations. In terms of physical environment, many INFJ benefit from having a dedicated, quiet space where they can retreat when feeling overwhelmed. This might include elements like soft lighting, comfortable textures, and minimal visual clutter. Some find that using noise-canceling headphones or creating specific sensory zones in their home helps them manage their sensitivity to environmental stimuli. Social boundaries are equally important. INFJ often need to learn to communicate their needs clearly, even when it feels uncomfortable. This might mean explaining to friends and family that you need advance notice for social events, setting specific alone time periods, or being honest about your energy limits. Professional life and career considerations. The intersection of INFJ traits and possible neurodivergence can significantly impact career choices and workplace experiences. Many INFJ find themselves drawn to helping professions, creative fields, or roles that allow them to work independently while still contributing to meaningful causes. In the workplace, INFJ often need to advocate for accommodations that support their best work. This might include requesting quiet workspaces or permission to use noise-canceling headphones, negotiating flexible schedules that allow for energy management, creating clear boundaries around communication methods and response times, arranging for regular breaks to prevent sensory and emotional overwhelm, building community and finding support. One of the most powerful steps in any INFJ's journey is finding their community, people who understand and appreciate their unique way of experiencing the world. This becomes even more important when navigating questions of neurodivergence. Online communities can be valuable resources, offering spaces to connect with others who share similar experiences. However, it's important to approach these spaces with discernment, recognizing that while shared experiences can be validating, they shouldn't replace professional guidance when needed. Embracing your unique path. Perhaps the most important message for INFJ questioning their neurodivergence is this: your experience is valid, regardless of whether it fits neatly into any particular category. The goal isn't to find a perfect label, but to understand yourself better and create a life that honors your unique needs and strengths. Conclusion. Moving forward with understanding. As we conclude this exploration of INFJ and neurodivergence, remember that the question, "Are all INFJ neurodivergent?" might be less important than understanding and accepting your individual experience. While there may be overlaps between INFJ traits and neurodivergent characteristics, they are distinct aspects of human diversity that can exist independently or together. What matters most is developing self-awareness, creating supportive environments, and building relationships that honor your authentic self. Whether you identify as an INFJ, neurodivergent, both, or neither, your unique way of experiencing and interacting with the world is valuable and worthy of understanding and respect. Remember, this journey of self-discovery is ongoing. Continue to observe, learn, and adapt your understanding as you grow. Most importantly, be patient and compassionate with yourself as you navigate these complex aspects of identity and experience. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the fascinating intersection of INFJ personality traits and neurodivergence. If you found this exploration helpful, please like and subscribe for more content about personality psychology, neurodiversity, and human development.